back from the barbershop and ready to make a video. You often hear David Carroll in his videos talking about this white man behind the tree. What the white man behind the tree is he's an imaginary social construct made up by Negroes to avoid taking action to change their lives. And this white man behind the tree is often the person that people say is the one out to destroy them, out to sabotage the black community, and out to prevent the black community from moving forward. Well, I have to say, from my own life and personal experiences, I haven't had many problems with this white man for the most part. Most of the biggest problems that I've ever had to deal with ever since I was 12 years old were with Negroes. And the person didn't have to worry about was that white man behind the tree, but the Negroes standing in front of me. And again, I have had to deal with this Negro since I was 12 years old, and the person most likely to stab me in the back was another Negro. And usually the Negro will stab you in the back for anything as small as a pair of sneakers, a little bit of social currency, or even a whiff of that nuclear waste between a woman's legs. This is what the Negro will stab another black person in the back for. This is what a Negro will compromise his values and his morals and his integrity for. And this is why, sadly, another black man, in many cases, just can't trust another black man because many of these Negroes just aren't loyal to anyone. Many of these Negroes will sit there and tell you a hoe isn't loyal. Well, from my experience, a Negro is just not loyal. And a Negro, again, will stab you in the back, again, for something as inconsequential as a slice of cornbread, as inconsequential as a piece of chicken, as inconsequential as a little bit of attention from one of these raggedy females out here. This is what this Negro will stab you in the back for. And on the job, they'll stab you in the back just for the praise and approval of whatever white boss is out there. Now, the white man behind the tree, oftentimes, again, is not your enemy. He's the least of your worries. The problem that you really would have to deal with is this Negro's obsession with winning the approval of that white man behind the tree. This is what makes this Negro dangerous, because this Negro is one of the big problems when it comes to race in America. Many of these dysfunctional Negroes are a big part of this problem, and a lot of people don't understand how this Negro is a part of the problem when it comes to race in America, because you have to understand, but in order to understand why the Negro is a problem, you have to understand the dynamics of a codependent relationship. And what is a codependent relationship? It's a relationship where one person has more power over one individual than another, or a perception of power over another. And but the Negro believes is that white people have more power over him, and because of this, he often enables the dysfunction to continue. Because when you look at the Negro in his codependent relationship, he is the one who oftentimes will give away his personal power, his personal intangibles, and throw another black person under the bus just to win the approval of that white man behind the tree, this imaginary white man, and the approval of this imaginary white man. This is what he does. He thinks that if he destroys this other black man or other black people, he's going to get points. He's going to win approval. He's going to win favor. And this is a big part of the codependent relationship when it comes to whites and blacks, because the liberal is a big part of this codependent relationship. He is the one who who allows the enabling. He's a big part of the enabling, because you have this Negro who, you have the white liberal who's the abuser, and then you have the Negro which wants to be the victim. So he throws other blacks under the bus so that he can make himself out to be the victim, so he can win the favor of this white liberal. And he lives for those praises and those kudos, and he lives to do that. And in order for him to get to that position, he has to throw other more responsible and capable blacks right up under that bus, so he believes he can get those praises and kudos and from his master. This is what he does. This is what this Negro does, because he's not loyal to black interests, and he needs to be in that position of the victim, and he will throw anybody under the bus to keep himself in that position of the victim. Anybody who talks about personal responsibility, ownership, he doesn't want those type of people around, so he makes them out to be the villain so that he can remain in the position of the victim. So he'll always come out with shaming tactics, calling people Uncle Toms, calling people coons, calling people black buffoons, calling black people sellouts, because he needs to be able to be in that position where he can be enabled. He needs to be enabled, and he needs that white liberal to be his enabler, and he needs to maintain this codependent relationship, and he'll do anything in his power to keep that codependent relationship continuing. So this is why you have to worry about this Negro standing in front of you, because this Negro, he does not want to take responsibility for himself. He does not want to move anything ahead, because if and that's the reason why he doesn't like anyone who is moving ahead, because if other people start moving ahead, other people may start asking him why isn't he trying to do things on his own. So he tries to do things to sabotage those other people. Again, this is why you have to watch out for this Negro standing in front of you. And the Negroes you really have to watch out for, these are the most dangerous enablers in the black community, are the following people. And that's your Negro pastor, your pro-black, red, black, and green Negro, your boho African American female, your single mother, and I would even say, dare to venture to say, some of these other, thugs and other assorted Negroes, because all of these Negroes, they live to be the victim, and they don't want to come out of that victim position and move on to the survivor position, because they receive most of their benefits. This is how they take care of their livelihood. This is how they make their money in the black community. This is how they live. For They live through these government programs from the white liberal, these social programs. They live by being victims. This is how they get power in their community. This is how they get their needs met. This is how they get things done in their community, by being victims. As long as they're in the position of the victim, they feel a sense of power. And what these Negroes don't want anybody to do is start preaching a doctrine or discussing a doctrine of personal responsibility, personal ownership, and self empowerment, because that runs counter to everything that they use towards getting their needs met. Again, as long as they remain in the position of the victim, they can go to the white liberal and get crumbs from the table. This is how they have operated for 50 years, and this is how they want to continue operating for 50 years. And this is why, when you deal with these Negroes in front of you, you have to be very careful, because again, these are the guys who are going to try to sabotage you. These are the guys who want to try to eliminate you. And this is why, sadly, the Negro in front of you is the deadliest enemy of all, because he wants to remain in that position of power. I know this from personal experience, because when I worked at this civil service job at this college library, I ran into it myself. When I was working there, I was doing a very good job. I was on my own. And even the supervisor, the woman they put up in front of me as a supervisor, said I was doing a great job. And when it came time for the performance evaluation, she was the one who threw me up under the bus, working with this white liberal librarian to get me fired. And what she did was saying, again, when this guy said that I was sleeping, when I wasn't sleeping, I was looking down at the counter at the circulation desk. She says that, you're sleeping, and he says that you're sleeping. And both of them worked together to say that I was sleeping. They wrote it all up. And sadly, I lost my job in 2008. And that showed me, the person I have to worry about. Again, it's not this white man behind the tree, but this Negro standing in front of me. And the Negro standing in front of you is the one who wants, again, the approval of that white person. I could care less about getting approval from another white person or any other person of color, because I approve of myself. When you have good self-confidence and strong self-esteem, you don't care about getting approval from others, because you believe in yourself and you believe in what you do. And the sad part is, the Negro, because his self-esteem is so eroded, he has no sense of self-confidence. He does not seek approval from himself. He does not seek approval from God. Those are the only two sources I seek approval of, is God and myself. The rest of them, I could care less about anybody else. But this Negro, again, all he thinks about is getting approval of others, especially white people, making white people happy. They don't feel happy unless the white person is happy. And again, this is why I say this Negro is codependent, because codependent people are like this. They're not happy unless their partner is happy. They live to please the partner, and they are always walking on eggshells, worrying about the other partner. And this is what this Negro does. He lives for the approval of white people. He lives to make white people happy, and he lives, you know, walking on eggshells, worrying about whether white people are thinking about him. And if you look at the behaviors of your Negro pastor, your black liberal politician, and your pro-black, red, black, and green Negro, what do you see? The same type of codependent behaviors, the same type of codependent actions. And this is why, again, these Negroes are dangerous because, again, these are the Negroes who are the most worried about this white man behind the tree because really they want the approval of this white man behind the tree. This imaginary white man, again, as every other black man and woman like myself knows, could care less about us. The whole thing is that these pro-blacks, these Negro pastors, and these thugs and other shines and minstrels, they need this white man behind the tree to approve of them because they don't approve of themselves. They don't have healthy self-esteem. They don't have healthy self-confidence. They don't want to go for what they want. And they need this person to approve of them so they can feel some sense of value, some sense of worth, and feel like they have some sort of self-esteem. Everything with them is wrapped around somebody else. And what that is in psychology is called giving your personal power away. And this Negro lives to give away his personal power to others. This is why I believe he is a slave, because only a slave lives for the approval of his master. Only a slave lives to make his master happy. And when you look at this Negro here in 2015, this is what a lot of them do. They live for the approval of this white liberal master. They live for the approval of this imaginary white man behind the tree. They live for the approval of this of this of this entity that they call white supremacy. They live for this approval because there is white supremacy, but not the way these guys have it as. It's for them. It's like an imaginary social entity that they have made up, and it's like almost like their own god. This is why I said in my book why 70% of black women are single. For many of these black women and many of these Negroes, their god is the white man. Their God is not the living God that they go and praise in church. No, their God is this white man, which is really depicted in the images that they serve, which is this white Jesus caricaturized image that they call Jesus, but it's not Jesus at all. It has nothing to do with the Son of God. This is what they worship. This is the white God that they worship. And sadly, this is what this Negro pretty much is really afraid of. He's afraid of offending his God and her God. This is what they're afraid of offending when they talk about this white man behind the tree. Because again, they want the approval of this God, and they don't want other Negroes coming out and making statements, against him or doing for themselves because they feel that's offending their God and offending, their true religion. Because if you really look at their religion, this Negro, for the most part, lives to worship this white God, and he wants the approval of this white God. But the sad part is, he doesn't understand that he is in a codependent relationship with white liberals and other white people who he believes are gods, and that's preventing him from growing as a human being and moving his life forward. And ironically, he winds up sabotaging the very people like myself who are trying to help him move forward and get his life in order so that he can be the best person he can be. He's the guy, the one sadly I have to worry about um, on a job or in a social environment or in any other place because I have to worry about what this Negro is going to do to try to harm me or harm any of my interests or anything that I do or anything that any other decent brother out here tries to do. Because this Negro, again, he lives for the approval of this white man behind the tree, this white Jesus, this white God. This is what he lives for. And the sad part is that many of these Negroes are so lost that they don't even see, what type of doctrines they're following and what type of ideologies that they're following. And this is why, again, you have to worry about not about the white man behind the tree, but the Negro standing right in front of me. The Negro standing right in front of you, many of them are pretty much dysfunctional. Their heads aren't on straight. They have these crazy ideas. Um, if you put another white person in front of them, they're going to live to get this white person's approval. They're going to live to get this white person. I mean, just sit down and watch them. You put a white person in the room, and you're going to watch the Negro's behavior change. This is how you know you're dealing with a Negro. A black person will see a white person walk in the room, not even care. Like myself, I've dealt with white people on my blog, social events. My face doesn't change. I don't start buck dancing and kowtowing just because a white person is in the room. When you deal with this Negro, on the other hand, he starts turning into Amos and Andy the minute a white person comes along. And I've seen this, in many work scenarios. I mean, I remember again at the college library when these white people would come around, this pro-black Afrocentric with dreadlocks and a desk full of red, black, and green material would all of a sudden start buck dancing and cooning just like a mammy. And I've also seen it in other jobs, like the one I worked at the nonprofit 15 years ago. Um, they hired some new white people there, and all of a sudden, many of the Negroes and even some of the Hispanics started buck dancing and cooning, just like Amos and Andy. And this is how you know you're dealing with a Negro, because a regular black person, their demeanor is not going to change, their personality is not going to change. When a white person walks in the room, they could care less. They're about what they want to do, what goals they want to achieve, and if this person is going to help them achieve their goals, then things are going to get done. If not, this white person is just another person in the room just helping you try to forward your goals. That's how you know you're dealing with a black person. You're dealing with a Negro, on the other hand, he starts turns into Amos and Andy. He starts buck dancing, kowtowing, being a minstrel, being a shine. And this is what he's going to do. He's going to be like, whatever, what can I do for you, sir? What can I do for you, boss? And I have seen this at two jobs that I had. One I had 15 years ago at that nonprofit Strive, and at the college library. And I can tell you from personal experience, this is what happens this is when you're dealing with a Negro. And it's these Negro enablers that keep things from moving forward. And they are the other half of this dysfunction. The white liberal is one half of the problem, and this Negro enabler is another part of the problem. Because if you really look at it, if it wasn't for the Negroes enabling these white liberals, this race issue, we could have really put a dent in it. Man, but the big problem is we get these plantation type shines who sit there and make excuses, for these white liberals and, continue to tap dance for them. They don't want these people they live to be on the plantation, they live for the crumbs on the table, and they really prevent progress because this is how they get their needs met, this is how they get taken care of, and this is how they have learned to live and been socialized to live over the last 40 years. So when you think about, again, the concept of this white man behind the tree, this is a social construct. It's not a real person. It is an idea that is made up by Negroes. It's imaginary. It's not real. And what makes it real to them is their own behaviors that enable this liberal to believe that he has power. The real power that the Negro always had the power, but he's afraid to use it, and he's afraid to take that power. Now, ordinary black people, regular black people, are ready to take that power, but we can't do it alone. And the sad part is, this Negro, we can't do it alone because we know that a lot of times there aren't that many of us, because only 30% of us, 70% of this black community is mostly Negroes. Only 30%, and then whenever you try to, and the whole thing is you have to treat very carefully because you don't know when you're dealing with a Negro. That's the scary part about being a black person, is that you don't know if you're dealing with a Negro. When you deal with this Negro, again, he wants to get that extra piece of cornbread, so he's going to flip anybody who makes a statement against his slave master. And that's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him even more dangerous than your Klansman. Because again, the white man behind the tree, you can make a plan for a Klansman. You can make a plan for a skinhead. You can make a plan, for any sort of person like this, because you already see them, you know where they are, you know where they're coming from. But that Negro standing in front of you and that Negro standing behind you, you don't know what that guy is. You don't know how to even deal with him. I mean, again, this white man behind the tree, yeah, you can deal with him because you can see him. But this Negro standing in front of you, he's dangerous. And a lot of times you just don't know who he is, and you don't know where he's coming from, and you don't know what he's going to do. And this, again, this is what makes, trying to work with other black people extremely dangerous. And it's just something I really want people to think about, because, again, the Negro standing in front of you, he's the one creating the black on black crime. He's the one, he's the one selling the dope to your people. He's the one selling the weed to your people. He's the one, pimping your women out. He's the one in the pulpit teaching a false doctrine. He's the one causing the chaos in your own community. And a lot of these Negroes, they are the ones you really have to worry about. But many of you black people, you think that you can trust anybody who has the same skin tone as you, and it just can't be done. You have to understand, your greatest enemy is not this white man behind the tree, but the Negro standing in front of you. That's all I have to say for this video. I have a lot of great books on Amazon.com. Many are available on Kindle Unlimited, so you can just borrow them if you have Amazon Prime. Books like Temptation of John Haynes here, a great novel, is available on Kindle Unlimited. And I have a lot of other great books available on Kindle, like Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Many of the books start at 99 cents, and there's just a lot of great reading on there. I'm sure you'll find something you'll enjoy. Let me know what you like, and maybe I may think about. And I also have a great blog called www.shawnsjames.blogspot.com. Also, lots of great reading there, a lot of great articles on there. It updates at least maybe about twice a week, so there's a lot of great content out there. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.